She doesn't command you. She doesn't threaten you. She trains you. She does it with a smile, with a soft voice, with guilt, with patience that seems like love but isn't, with calibrated silences, measured attention, hugs dosed like a drug. She doesn't control you with force. She controls you with weakness, yours, and you don't notice. Because you think you're free, you think you choose, you think you love. But in reality, every time you try not to make her angry, every time you think maybe I went too far, every time you lower your voice so as not to lose her, you're tightening another link in the chain. Not a physical one, a mental one. And the mental chain is the most resistant of all, because you don't see it, you don't feel the weight, but it moves you. It makes you think what she wants. It makes you believe it's your fault. It makes you feel wrong even when you've only reacted to an injustice. This is how control really works. It doesn't impose on you. It conditions you. It doesn't limit you. It convinces you. It doesn't tie you down. It binds you with guilt. And the better you are, the more vulnerable you are. Because those who want to control you don't seek your anger. They seek your conscience. They want your sense of justice. They want you to believe that being a good man means putting up with it. That being mature means accepting. That loving means tolerating even what turns you off. So they teach you to apologize when you're not to blame, to justify yourself when you've been hurt, to feel grateful for the attention you rightfully deserve. And slowly, it drains you. The truth is that the most effective control doesn't come from domination, but from cultivating dependence. They don't take away your freedom by force, but convince you that your freedom hurts it. That if you detach yourself, you will hurt it. That if you choose yourself, you will lose it. And so you remain. You stay so as not to hurt her. You stay because she suffered. You stay because maybe I'm too cold. You stay even when everything inside you screams for you to leave. She doesn't imprison you. She trains you to stay. Her power lies not in grand gestures, but in invisible details. A pause in her tone, a disapproving look, a never mind that actually punishes you. She conditions you until you learn to correct yourself. She doesn't need to ask you to change. You'll do it spontaneously in an attempt to avoid her disappointment. Here's the terrifying truth. The most dangerous control is the one you mistake for love. Because you don't notice the poison until you're too addicted to stop drinking it. Every sweet gesture becomes a disguised command. Every okay, whatever you want is a noose around your neck. Her every fragility becomes leverage. And you, in trying to be the right man, become a domesticated version of yourself. You cut off your emotions. You soften your voice. You treat your anger like a sin. You suppress your strength for fear of hurting. And in the end, you remain only a shadow of who you were. The world applauds because you seem balanced. She smiles because now you reacted exactly as she wanted. But inside you, something dies. Your authenticity, your backbone, your freedom to say no. You realize you no longer get angry. Not because you're at peace, but because you've given up. You've stopped arguing, not out of wisdom, but out of exhaustion. And that silence, which was once a sign of strength, has now become resignation. This is the true horror of emotional control. It doesn't break you, it empties you. It doesn't kill you, it puts you to sleep. It transforms you into a calm man, but inside, empty, dull, colorless. And the cruelest part, she doesn't necessarily do it with malice. Many times she isn't even aware of it. She repeats patterns she's learned. She's seen that power comes from making yourself desired. That fragility can become a weapon. That tenderness can be a way to gain obedience. She's not always a manipulator, but often she's an artist of need, and you become her canvas. The Stoics would say that true control is never external, that no one can possess your mind unless you hand it over to them. But the problem is that we often hand it over to them. Out of love, out of fear, out of need. Control, in its subtlest form, doesn't steal your freedom. It convinces you to sell it. And you do it with a smile, believing you're doing the right thing. Here's the terrifying truth. The one almost no one has the courage to say. Manipulation can't be imposed. It's cultivated slowly. And the first soil in which it takes root is your fear of being alone. It doesn't need chains, it needs you to fear emptiness, because those who fear solitude are easy to guide. Those who can't be with themselves will accept any voice that tells them what to do, as long as it's not the silence of their own mind. But you weren't born to be guided by anyone. Your mind is your fortress. Your thoughts are your weapon. Your calm is your protection. And if you want to win yourself back, you must first recognize this mechanism. You must stop confusing gentleness with slavery, fragility with manipulation, love with control. Not everything that seems like care is. Not everything that seems like empathy is honest. Sometimes the most effective poison tastes like understanding. The Stoics taught that the first step to freedom is learning to distinguish what depends on you from what does not. And every time she controls you, she shifts that boundary. She convinces you that her emotions also depend on you, that you are the one making her feel bad, that you are responsible for her mood swings, that you are the one who must save her. And so, day after day, you begin to live in prison, even though you have the key in your pocket. Emotional control never presents itself openly. It doesn't come with threats. It doesn't show itself with anger. It doesn't declare itself with direct words. It insinuates itself. It infiltrates the folds of your attention in small daily gestures, in innocent phrases, in strategic silences, and it is precisely there, in subtlety, that its strength lies. Because invisible control doesn't want to dominate you. It wants you to collaborate in your own imprisonment. It wants you to call it love, to even defend it, to justify it to yourself. And you will, until you learn to see the signs. The first form is emotional guilt. It is the oldest, the most effective, the most refined. It doesn't accuse you openly, but it makes you feel wrong. It makes you believe that every time you say no, you're hurting someone. That every time you set a limit, you're selfish. That every time you choose yourself, you're destroying something sacred. I'm not asking much of you, it says, but meanwhile it observes you, measures, evaluates. Your every decision passes through the invisible tribunal of its gaze, and when it sees you hesitate, it smiles, not out of malice, but because it knows it has educated you. She knows the judge now lives inside you. You'll feel guilty even for thinking about leaving, because she taught you that your freedom is a wound to her, that your space is her absence, that your independence is coldness. And you, slowly, stop moving. You give up what you love. You shrink, you adapt, you shrink. The second form is punitive silence. You don't need to shout to exercise power. Just disappear, just don't answer. Just let your mind fill with questions. It's a subtle tactic, because the male mind can't tolerate emptiness. It wants to understand, it wants to solve, it wants to explain. And so, when she's silent, you start building 1,000 scenarios in your head. You wonder what you did wrong. You try to fix what isn't broken. You apologize even if you don't know why. And the moment you apologize, she regains her throne. Punitive silence works because it doesn't hurt you directly. It consumes you from the inside. It pushes you to blame yourself, to beg for clarity, to beg for attention. And that's where dependency arises, in the need for explanations that will never come. The third form is strategic fragility, a weapon the world rarely recognizes because it's disguised as sweetness. It doesn't attack you. It moves you. It doesn't command you. You pity it. It tells you its fears, its traumas, its wounds, but not to truly open up, but rather to build a protective fence around itself. A fence you will never dare cross. Every time you try to set a limit, you will feel cruel. Every time you try to say enough, it will remind you of how much it has suffered. And you, in your attempt to not be like the others, will transform yourself into an emotional nurse. Not a man, a guardian, a redeemer. It's an invisible trap because it makes you feel noble. It makes you believe you're different from the others. But as you bend over to heal its wounds, your back breaks. And one day, you'll realize there was never room for yours. The fourth form is programmed doubt. It doesn't attack you, it confuses you. It makes you question yourself, your memory, your emotions. It tells you, are you sure it happened like this? Or maybe you're too sensitive. And you, slowly, begin to believe you're exaggerating, to no longer trust your perception, to believe that perhaps you really are too rigid, too closed, too serious. This is the most devastating form of mind control, the one that makes you doubt your own clarity. Because when you stop trusting your mind, you become dependent on the reality of the other. And in that moment, the game is over. It will no longer control you with emotions, but with the very perception of reality. Doubt is like rust. It's not immediately visible, but it slowly corrodes every certainty. And one day, you'll find yourself thinking, maybe she's right. And in that sentence, there's your surrender. The fifth form is the most subtle, toxic gratitude. It's how she turns every small gesture into an eternal debt. She gives you something: attention, sex, support, closeness, and you, in return, feel obligated to never disappoint her. It's an invisible transaction. You don't sign anything, but you sign everything. She tells you, with everything I do for you. And in that sentence lies a prison, because she convinces you that every discomfort you experience is ingratitude, that every need you have is a whim, that every request you make is a lack of gratitude. Gratitude, when it's genuine, liberates, but when it becomes debt, it binds. And you, without realizing it, end up asking permission even from your thoughts. 5 forms, 5 invisible blades that cut without leaving blood: guilt, silence, fragility, doubt, debt. 5 masks of control, 5 ways to transform masculine strength into docility. 5 traps that are unseen until you learn to look at them with a Stoic eye. Because the Stoic doesn't react, he observes. He doesn't defend himself, he understands. He doesn't accuse, he detaches himself. And in detachment, he finds the power that no manipulation can touch: lucidity. Emotional control lives in the fog. It feeds on your confusion. But a clear mind is like the sun. When it rises, the fog dissolves on its own. The next time you feel the need to justify yourself, stop. Observe. Ask yourself, am I really doing something wrong? Or am I just ceasing to be controlled? If the answer scares you, you're close to freedom. Because the first step to breaking out of a spell is recognizing that you're under one. The Stoics said that a free man is not one who does what he wants, but one who no longer has to react to what he doesn't deserve. And now, it's up to you to learn that freedom. You don't notice control right away. At first, it just seems like attention, care, love. It feels like sweetness, intimacy, complicity. You tell yourself, it's normal, it's a relationship. You convince yourself that certain sacrifices are part of the compromise. But slowly, something changes. Not on the outside, on the inside. You realize you're starting to think twice before speaking, that you weigh every word, every silence, that you overthink even the simplest things. You're afraid of saying something that might hurt her, of using the wrong tone, of seeming detached, of not being there enough. And yet, you always feel inadequate. It's that feeling of walking on invisible glass. Every step can cut you. Every sentence can trigger a reaction. And so you move slowly, very slowly, until you can't move at all. This is the first sign of control. Silent tension. She doesn't need to impose rules on you. You create them yourself, inside yourself. You censor yourself. You correct yourself. You limit yourself. Not because she's openly asking you to, but because you fear her reaction. And the fear of a reaction is already obedience. The second sign is the disappearance of spontaneity. You no longer laugh like before. You no longer joke lightly. You no longer say what you truly think. You choose your words like a diplomat, not like a free man. You observe yourself while you speak, as if you had 2 minds, one that speaks and one that controls. And the one that controls always wins. You realize that your authenticity has faded, that every gesture is filtered by a thought. How will she take this? Will it bother her? Will she think I don't care? And the more you try to do well, the more you lose yourself. This is the second sign. When you begin to deny your nature to maintain peace. But peace at that price isn't peace. It's anesthesia. It's an artificial calm built on the sacrifice of your voice. The third sign is the loss of direction. You no longer know what you really want. Your dreams seem distant. Your habits dissolve. You no longer have the drive. You no longer have the hunger. You wake up in the morning and your first thought isn't, what do I want to do today? But, what will she do today? Your life becomes a reaction to hers. Your time bends to her mood. You feel responsible for her serenity, as if every smile depends on you. And when she's not serene, you feel like a failure. This is the subtlest form of control, when she makes you believe your job is to keep her happy. But another's happiness is never in your hands. Whoever wants you to keep her balanced is actually using you as a crutch, and crutches don't walk freely. They support until they break. The fourth sign is guilt for wanting. You feel guilty for wanting to be alone, for wanting to do something for yourself, for enjoying a moment of freedom. It almost feels like a betrayal, as if independence were a lack of love. And then you start justifying everything. I didn't mean to offend you. Sorry for talking to that person. I didn't mean to seem distant. Your freedom becomes a confession, and every time you justify yourself for being yourself, you lose a piece of your identity. The Stoic would say, the man who justifies himself too much has already lost his self-respect. And he was right, because respect doesn't come from consensus. It comes from boundaries. And you, in an attempt not to hurt her, have demolished all your boundaries. The fifth sign is the fear of conflict. You no longer want to argue. You no longer want to discuss. You no longer want to face anything. You tell yourself that it's not worth it. You convince yourself that calm is more important. But inside, you feel that that calm costs you dearly. Because every time you swallow a truth, it settles inside you like a stone. Every time you let it slide, your silence weighs more. And one day you realize that you no longer speak, that you no longer defend your ideas, that you no longer react to injustice. You've stopped fighting, not for peace, but out of exhaustion. That's how control is achieved. Not through an order, but through your exhaustion. Not through command, but through your surrender. You feel drained, but you can't figure out why. You feel empty, but you can't find a precise cause. You wonder if you are the problem. You wonder if you've become too cold, too closed, too hard. And meanwhile, she moves calmly, convinced she has you beside her, unaware that you're no longer truly there. You've dissolved into the role she assigned you. But inside, something rebels. A small fire. A subtle voice saying, "This isn't my place." That voice is your truth knocking to get out. It's the part of you that hasn't yet been tamed. It's the man you were before you were conditioned. Listen to it, because that voice is the key. It's the spark that separates resignation from awakening. It's the moment you understand that you can no longer live under someone else's invisible influence. The Stoics would say that external control only works on those who don't know themselves, because those who know themselves cannot be manipulated. Those with an inner direction don't let themselves be pushed by any hand. And so the question becomes, how much of what you do comes from you, and how much from the fear of losing it? How much of your choices are your own, and how much is merely adaptation? How much of your calm is genuine, and how much is merely the silence of a man who has stopped reacting? Finding yourself doesn't mean rebelling against it, but returning to yourself. It means learning to breathe again without permission, to speak without fear, to think without guilt. Freedom doesn't come in a scream. It comes in a breath. The exact moment you stop seeking approval and start seeking truth. And the truth is simple. Even if it's frightening, no one can control you unless you give them access to your thoughts. And the way you give it to them is always the same. When you seek to be understood instead of being consistent. The world will always try to train you to please. But the Stoic man knows that virtue is not pleasure, it is balance. He knows that true love doesn't ask to be small, but to be present. And that peace doesn't come from consensus, but from clarity. The signals are within you. And if you learn to listen to them, no one will ever be able to shut you down, because the mind that observes itself is already free. Control never comes all at once. It doesn't overwhelm you like a storm. It comes like a fine, slow, almost pleasant rain. It drenches you without you even realizing it. And when you finally realize you're soaked, it's already too late to understand when it started raining. This is how emotional manipulation works. It doesn't assault you, it lulls you. It slowly accustoms you. It gently trains you. And every little concession you make, every boundary you shift, becomes the foundation on which it builds the next. At the beginning is the idealization phase. It puts you on a pedestal. It makes you feel special, different, necessary. It looks at you like no one has ever looked at you before. It listens to you, it understands you, it anticipates you. It makes you believe that finally someone truly sees you. And you believe it, because we all want to be seen. We all need, at least once, to feel understood. This is how the door opens, not with force, but with empathy. Not with control, but with connection. She enters your mind through your heart. Then, slowly, the correction phase begins. You don't realize it right away. She tells you, it's not criticism, it's advice. I'm saying this for your own good. I'm concerned about the way you react. And you listen to her. Because you think those who love you truly want to improve you. But behind that concern is a subtle logic, to displace your self-esteem outside of yourself. Every time she judges the way you speak, dress, think, and you change something to not make her feel bad, you are giving her a fragment of power. And that fragment adds to the others, one after another, until one day only crumbs of you remain. At that point, the normalization phase begins. The control is no longer strange, it's routine. The punitive silences no longer scare you, they seem normal. Subtle criticism no longer hurts you, it feels right. Guilt no longer weighs on you, it feels like love. This is where manipulation becomes habit. And habit is the hardest chain to break. The human mind adapts. It learns to survive even in discomfort, until the prison becomes home, and you begin to defend it, to justify it, to tell yourself that it's not so bad. It is at this moment that the Stoic begins to awaken, not because he has found anger, but because he has found clarity. The Stoic does not hate. He does not react. He observes. He looks at the dynamics without getting carried away. He analyzes each emotion like a doctor studying a wound. He does not ask himself, why is he doing this to me? He asks himself, why am I allowing this? This is where power begins to reverse direction, because manipulation only survives as long as you participate. As long as you respond, justify, react, explain yourself. The moment you stop feeding it, it begins to die. The Stoic dismantles control piece by piece. He doesn't destroy, he disconnects. He begins with silence, a different silence, not passive, but conscious. He doesn't remain silent out of fear. He remains silent to observe. He doesn't respond immediately. He leaves room for time. Every time you don't react immediately, you regain an inch of mental power. Every time you breathe before responding, you break the rhythm the other tries to impose. The Stoic knows that manipulation thrives on immediacy, that the manipulator wants you to be impulsive, reactive, emotional. Because as long as you react, you don't think. And as long as you don't think, you obey. Therefore, the first step to dismantling control is to slow down. Observe emotions like a flowing river without jumping in. Watch them pass. Feel the anger, the guilt, fear, but don't act from within. Act from above. The second step is to remember who you were before, because manipulation doesn't create you, it rewrites you. It slowly rewrites you, replacing your voice with hers. And to free yourself, you must rediscover your original language. What did you love before she told you it was stupid? What made you feel good before it became childish? What did you desire before she convinced you it was useless? Every answer you find is a piece of you falling back into place. Every desire that resurfaces is an act of rebellion. Every boundary you raise is a brick of your freedom. The third step is to reduce its importance, not superficially but philosophically. The Stoics called it premeditatio malorum, imagining the loss to reduce its power. Every day, imagine its absence, not for revenge, but to become whole again. Visualize your life without its voice, without its approval, without its influence. Breathe in that possibility. At first it will be scary, then it will become peace, because control feeds on your fear of being alone. But when you learn to be alone, control starves. The fourth step is to reclaim your time. Control creeps into minutes, not hours. In small moments of distraction, in controlled messages, in immediate replies, in automatic justifications. Slow down. Don't respond immediately. Don't always justify yourself. Let time return to your side. Every second you spend reflecting instead of reacting is a second of freedom. Every "I'll get back to you later" is a revolution. And the fifth step, the most difficult, is to accept losing what you can no longer bear, because manipulation promises you peace, but asks for your soul in exchange. And when you decide to take your soul back, you will have to let go of something. Letting go is not a defeat. It is a sacred act. It is saying, "I choose me, even if it costs me you." It is saying, "I am no longer willing to pay my serenity for your balance." It is saying, "I prefer true silence to false calm." This is the final blow that dismantles control, because no one can manipulate you when you no longer fear loss. Those who are willing to lose everything can no longer be controlled by anything. And then you understand that true power is not domination, but calm. The calm of those who have learned to say no without fear, of those who have learned to be alone without collapsing, of those who have learned to feel pain without reacting. Calm is not passivity. It is lucidity. It is knowing that all manipulation loses strength in the face of awareness, that every attempt at control fails in the face of a present mind, that every psychological game disintegrates when you no longer accept the game. The Stoics would say, "You can't stop the world from trying to control you, but you can stop yourself from giving in." And that's where liberation happens, not in a spectacular gesture, but in 1,000 small daily acts of coherence, in the way you speak, in the way you breathe, in the way you look without seeking approval. When you dismantle control piece by piece, you understand that you're not just freeing yourself from it. You're freeing yourself from everything inside you that had convinced you you didn't deserve freedom. And from that moment, no one can train you anymore, because you will have learned the one thing no one can teach you: to trust yourself. There comes a moment when you no longer react, not because you no longer feel anything, but because you've understood everything. It's the point where the anger fades, the resentment melts, and only a strange, almost suspicious calm remains. A calm that isn't peace, it's awareness. You realize that you no longer want to convince anyone. You no longer want to explain yourself. You no longer want to defend yourself. You feel tired, but not empty. You feel distant, but not cold. You've stopped fighting, not because you've lost, but because you've seen the whole game. That's when the awakening begins. It doesn't come with a sudden revelation. It arrives slowly, like light filtering through the cracks in a dark room. It doesn't dazzle you. It shows you. It shows you the dynamics that once seemed normal. It shows you the words that now sound different. It shows you the times you buckled out of fear, and you call that gesture by its true name: self-deception. The inner awakening is painful, because before you see the truth, you have to stop telling yourself your own comfortable stories. You have to admit that you've collaborated in your own control. You've accepted too many excuses. You've justified too many silences. You've mistaken too much manipulation for love, and your mind resists. It wants to go back to sleep. It wants to believe that it's not that serious. It wants to tell itself that all relationships are complicated. But deep down, something inside you knows that's not true, because the truth isn't discussed, it's felt. And when you feel it, you can no longer ignore it. Awakening is that moment when you stop asking, why her, and you start to ask yourself, why me? Not out of guilt, but out of understanding. Because every time you let yourself be manipulated, it's not just out of naivety, it's out of a need. The need to be loved, the need to feel useful, the need to be recognized. And as long as that need remains blind, someone will use it against you. Manipulation, after all, is nothing more than an unwritten contract between two wounds. One wound that cries out for attention and one that fears losing it. When you understand this, anger turns to compassion. Not for her, but for you. For the man you were, who gave too much because he didn't yet know his worth. For the you who sought approval instead of peace. For the you who didn't yet know how to say no. That compassion is not weakness. It is spiritual strength. Because only those who stop judging themselves can truly change. Only those who accept their own complicity can free themselves from it. And when you do, the chain is broken. The Stoic knows that every experience is neutral. It is not good, it is not bad. It depends on how you interpret it. And this is awakening, transforming manipulation into teaching, loss into revelation, pain into awareness. You no longer want to react, because reaction is still a way of remaining a prisoner. Every time you react, you enter the game again. Every time you respond with anger, you confirm that your center is still outside of you. But when you observe, when you remain present, when you do not move in the chaos, you break the dance. Understanding is an act of power, because those who understand do not depend. Those who see do not fall. Those who know no longer need to defend themselves. The modern world teaches you to react, to respond to everything, to explain, to demonstrate, to justify yourself. But ancient wisdom said the opposite. Be like the rock against which the waves will crash and the sea will find its calm. It's not about becoming cold. It's about becoming clear. Clear about what's yours and what's not. Clear about what depends on you and what doesn't. Clear about what's worth your energy and what isn't. When you stop reacting, the people who controlled you become confused, because their power existed only in your response. Silence, then, is no longer passivity. It's a force field. Your calm disarms them. Your detachment destabilizes them. Your calm smile scares them, because they no longer know how to strike you. This is the most dangerous moment, but also the most sacred. Because the old world, the one built on your dependence, will collapse. And the new world, the one founded on your freedom, doesn't fully exist yet. It's a middle ground. It's scary, but it's there that you're reborn. You'll feel alone. You'll feel lost. You'll feel like a man who's lost everything. But in reality, you haven't lost. You've suspended. You've suspended the old illusions to build a new one. Truth. And in that suspension, you will discover something incredible, that you no longer need control, neither to suffer it nor to exercise it. Because the man who understands does not want to dominate. He simply wants to be free. The Stoics would say that freedom is self-mastery, not of the world, not of others, but of one's own mind. And the mind that understands no longer allows itself to be seduced or frightened. When you reach this point, you begin to live with a new rhythm. You no longer wake up to react to the day. You wake up to lead it. You no longer try to predict what it will do, but observe how you react. You no longer seek confirmation, but consistency. You notice your energy changing. You are no longer anxious, you are stable. You are no longer dependent, you are centered. You are no longer agitated, you are present. And those who look at you feel it, because the free mind has an aura that cannot be faked. It is a calm that cannot be explained, but is perceived. It is the calm of someone who has walked through the fire and is no longer afraid of getting burned. Inner awakening is not, it's an end, it's a return. Return to you, to your voice, to your power. You no longer have to destroy anything. Just stop feeding what drains you. And, in that moment, the control that once seemed indestructible becomes fragile, because it no longer finds any hold, and when it no longer finds any reaction, it dissolves on its own. Whoever controlled you one day will try again. They will accuse you, they will use silence, guilt, fragility, but you will not react. You will look calmly, with clarity, with that slight sadness of someone who has already understood everything. And you will say to yourself, you can't touch me anymore. Not because you feel superior, but because you're no longer involved in the game. You've chosen the Stoic path, that of total presence and zero dependence. You don't want to take revenge. You don't want to explain. You don't want to educate. You just want to live well. And living well, after having known control, is the highest form of freedom there is. There's a precise moment when power changes direction. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't make noise. It doesn't arrive with a dramatic scene or a sudden breakup. It happens in silence, in the middle of a normal conversation when something inside you stops responding. It speaks to you, but no longer moves you. It looks at you, but no longer makes you tremble. It provokes you, but your calm remains intact. And in that moment, even if everything seems the same on the outside, something irreversible has happened inside you. You have regained your center. For months, perhaps years, you've lived according to its mood. You've calibrated your voice, your words, your choices. You've walked on eggshells, fearing that every wrong step could make everything collapses. You've invested your energy in keeping her calm, in calming the tensions, in arranging the sentences, in deciphering the silences. But now, suddenly, you realize you're no longer interested in understanding, not because you don't care about her, but because you've understood yourself. You've understood that her power was never real. It was just a projection of your fear. It was the reflection of your insecurity. It was the price you paid to avoid being alone. When this awareness arrives, the chain breaks silently. There's no need for rebellion, no need for confrontation. All that's needed is calm. Calm is the most revolutionary act there is, because whoever was controlling you lived off your reactions. Every explanation, every justification, every excuse, they were fuel. And now that you're no longer giving them, the engine of control dies. She begins to sense it. She senses that something isn't right. She observes you, studies you, provokes you. She searches for the old spark. But you don't explode. You don't snap. You don't bend. You remain. Present, immobile, lucid. And the calmer you remain, the more the dynamic it's on the edge. Because those who thrive on manipulation need movement. They need your chaos to feel centered. And now that that chaos is gone, they begin to feel insignificant. They begin to doubt themselves. They begin to ask themselves, why doesn't he react anymore? It is the confusion that precedes the collapse of its power, because control, without a response, no longer has a purpose. It is like an actor without an audience, like a boxer punching the air. You are no longer the victim. You are no longer the target. You are the mirror. And in mirrors, those who manipulate see only themselves. This is the silent reversal of power. It does not come from physical strength, nor from revenge. It comes from mastery, from the calm you have built by weathering the storm, from the discipline that has taught you not to react, from the lucidity that allows you to observe without being dragged along. When you remain impassive, you are not cold. You are firm. Coldness is a lack of emotion. Solidity is mastery of emotion. They are two different worlds. Manipulation is based on a simple equation, stimulus-reaction. But when you remove the reaction, the equation breaks, and whoever used it loses the map. He no longer knows where to hit you because there are no more open points. He will accuse you of having changed. He will tell you that you are distant, that you are no longer the same. same. And he'll be right. You're no longer the same. You've returned to yourself. The Stoic doesn't respond to chaos with anger, but with order. Not with vengeance, but with coherence. Not with shouting, but with silence. And those silences become unbearable for those who thrive on conflict, because conflict was their way of feeling alive. And now that you no longer fuel it, only emptiness remains. And that emptiness, finally, is no longer yours. It's theirs. You'll notice that they'll begin to seek you out with new strategies. They'll try to reactivate the old pattern. They'll show you tenderness. They'll offer you attention. They'll tell you words you've dreamed of hearing. But now, your eyes are open. You recognize the mechanism. You don't hate it. You don't despise it. You see it for what it is. An attempt. And you let it pass. You don't respond with pride, but with clarity. You don't block it. You don't chase it. You remain neutral. Because true power isn't reacting. It's choosing when and if to react. And in that moment, your calm becomes its lesson. You no longer have to explain anything. Your energy speaks for you. Those who are controlling you understand they can no longer do so. Not because you told them, but because they no longer feel it. They no longer find emotional leverage. They no longer find guilt to insinuate itself into. They no longer find guilt to play with. You are no longer its fertile ground. You have taken oxygen away from the fire, and the fire, without air, dies out. This is the moment when power returns to you, but not as domination, as balance. Not as arrogance, as centeredness. Not as revenge, as serenity. The Stoics said that a free man is not one who commands others, but one who no longer has to obey his own emotions. And you, now, are free. Because when you remain impassive in the face of what once destroyed you, it means you have transformed the wound into knowledge. You have stopped reacting to the pain, and you have begun to live from awareness. It is not detachment, it is mastery. It is not coldness, it is peace. And this peace is frightening. Because those who are used to controlling you don't know how to handle it. They'll accuse you of having changed, of being too calm, too detached, too rational. But you will smile, because you know it's not rationality, it's healing. A man who has gone through emotional control and escaped it becomes dangerous, not because he wants to hurt, but because he can no longer be hurt in the same way. Not because he wants to dominate, but because he can no longer be dominated. Not because he is better, but because he is whole. The reversal of power is not a victory to be celebrated. It is a truth to be understood. You realize that control was never outside. It was inside. It was your fear of losing, your addiction to approval, your illusion of being loved only if you conformed. And now that all this has vanished, you understand that you never lost power. You had just forgotten it. This is the true victory of the Stoic. Not to conquer others, but to regain control of yourself. No longer needing to react, because there is nothing left to defend. No longer needing to explain, because your peace explains everything. And so you walk without rancor, without pride, without chains. You walk with that calm that asks for nothing. It seeks nothing. It doesn't try to change anyone. A calm that is pure power. Those who meet you feel it. Those who have lost you mourn it. Those who observe you don't understand it, but they recognize it. It's the aura of someone who no longer belongs to the game of control. And in that moment, finally, the story changes direction, because you are no longer a secondary character in its plot. You have returned to being the author of your own. We have been taught that love is the purest thing there is, that love saves, redeems, completes, that those who truly love don't want to possess, but share. Yet, reality is more complex, because often behind the word love hides the oldest form of human dependence. It's not love that destroys you, it's the need to be loved. That invisible hunger that drives you to give even when you don't receive, to stay even when you're suffering, to justify even when everything inside you knows you should leave. The need to be loved is a drug. It anesthetizes you with small doses of approval, keeps you alive with fragments of attention, and you, just to feel that thrill again, Of importance, you accept any condition. You even accept control, as long as you don't feel forgotten. Thus, the manipulator doesn't bind you with force. He binds you with affection. He binds you with the idea that only she understands you, that only she tolerates you, that without her, you'd return to the void. And you fear that emptiness more than any pain, because emptiness is your mirror. It's where the parts of you don't want to see emerge. The fragilities you hide behind your calm. The fears you cover with rationality. The old wounds, the ones that date back to when you needed to feel seen. She doesn't create that wound. She reawakens it. And the moment she reawakens it, she makes you believe that only she can heal it. This is how the illusion of love as a weapon is born, when she convinces you that your serenity depends on her. But true love doesn't make you dependent. True love makes you whole. It gives you space, breathing space, leeway. It encourages you to be free, not to become an extension of someone else. The need to be loved, on the other hand, turns you into an emotional beggar. You no longer seek love, you seek approval. You no longer want to share, you want to be accepted. And whoever knows how to tap that hunger can make you do anything. All it takes is a caress at the right time, and "I miss you," whispered in the silence. A sudden text after days apart, and your brain reboots like a trained dog. Not for love, for relief. The relief of feeling seen again, even if just for a moment. This is the cycle of emotional dependence. Waiting, missing, crumbs, relief, waiting again. And the more you experience it, the more you empty yourself. The more your mind convinces itself that pain is part of love, that tension is passion, that jealousy is proof of interest, that silence is depth. But none of this is true. It's just the chemistry of control. Love, when it's healthy, doesn't need to hurt to make itself felt. It doesn't need to play with your anxiety. It doesn't need to punish you to remind you that it cares. The Stoic would say that love must be a choice, not a dependency. It must be born of respect, not fear. It must enrich your freedom, not replace it. But to reach this kind of love, you must first overcome disenchantment. You must face that part of you that needs to feel loved at all costs. You must ask yourself, why do I need someone to love me to feel whole? Perhaps because you've never truly loved yourself. Perhaps because your self-esteem was built on the eyes of others. Perhaps because you've confused value with approval. The man who doesn't know himself always seeks a look that defines him, but the look that defines controls. And when that look goes away, you feel naked, lost, useless. The manipulator knows this. That's why he alternates presence and absence. That's why he makes you feel special, then takes everything away, because he knows that the human mind attaches itself more to what comes and goes than to what remains constant. It's the logic of emotional scarcity. The rarer the moments of attention, the more precious they seem. And you, without realizing it, begin to chase what you once had. You chase the version of her that no longer exists, just to relive that feeling of completeness. But the completeness you seek on the outside is the one you've stopped cultivating on the inside. The Stoic doesn't delude himself. He knows that love isn't a prison, but a discipline. He knows that true connection is born between two free people, not between two fears holding hands. When you stop chasing love as a prize and start experiencing it as an extension of your freedom, no one can use you anymore, because those who aren't hungry can't be bought. The mind hungry for affection is easy to control. The satiated mind, however, chooses. And choosing is the true act of self-love. When you understand this, you don't become cynical. You become clear-headed. You don't stop loving, you stop sacrificing. You don't close yourself off, you protect yourself. You don't become cold, you become stable. And those who observe you, those who are used to controlling you, begin to feel it. Because the energy changes. You no longer seek validation. You no longer respond immediately. You don't get upset. And that calm, that serenity you've rediscovered becomes their uneasiness. Paradoxically, the manipulator begins to chase you. because he senses something is slipping away. He senses you're no longer connected, and for the first time, he's the one missing your need. But you no longer play games, because you've understood that true love isn't born from absence. It's born from presence, from the presence of oneself, even before the other. And when you get to that point, love stops being a weapon and goes back to being a gift. No longer a cage, but a space where you can breathe. This is the most profound lesson you learn after the checkup. You must no longer desire someone who chooses you every day. You must become the man you choose every day, because only those who choose themselves can love without losing themselves. The mind doesn't free itself all at once. Understanding isn't enough to heal. Knowing you've been manipulated isn't enough to free yourself again, because control doesn't just exist in facts. It lives in the conditioned reflexes that remain within you. It lives in the way you think, in the way you react, in the way you justify yourself even when it's no longer useful. Manipulation isn't just a story you've lived. It's a language your mind has learned. And unlearning it is a slow process, a gradual disconnection, an awakening that requires strength, patience, and truth. At first, the mind resists. Every time you try to distance yourself, something inside you pushes you back. It tells you, maybe I'm exaggerating. Maybe he'll change. I don't want to seem mean. It's the trained part, the part that has learned to confuse peace with submission. It's the voice of old programming. The manipulated mind is like an infected computer. Even after deleting the virus, the corrupted files remain. The habits remain. The automatic thoughts remain. The feelings of guilt remain. This is why the Stoic doesn't try to forget. He tries to disconnect. He doesn't delude himself into thinking that cutting off contact is enough, because he knows that the most dangerous contacts aren't outside. They're inside. Disconnecting means stopping responding, not just to messages, but to emotional stimuli. It means stopping chasing approval, stopping deciphering silences, stopping looking for explanations where there aren't any. The mind that disconnects initially feels withdrawal. You miss the voice that guided you, even if it hurt you. You miss the drama, even if it wore you down. You miss the chaos because it had become your rhythm. The silence at first scares you more than the storm. But then slowly, something changes. You start to breathe deeper. You start to sleep better. You start to feel the calm as something real, not forced. You begin to notice that you no longer check your phone every minute, that you no longer search your memories for proof of who was right, that you no longer care about winning. This is the stage of emotional detachment. It's not coldness, it's healing. It's the moment when your mind stops reacting to every stimulus. It stops responding to every call. It stops believing that every emotion must be resolved. Detachment is the sign that manipulation has lost its grip, because those who control thrive on your intensity. And when that intensity disappears, they no longer know where to hook you. In this stage, two things happen. The first, it comes back. In one way or another, it comes back. Not always physically, but through memories, social media, thoughts, dreams. It comes back because it senses the absence of your old self. And when it no longer finds your need, it will try to rekindle it. It will say the right words. It will make you remember the good times. It will make you believe that this time it's different. But now you have your eyes open. You no longer react out of nostalgia. You observe for truth. And the truth is that what hurt you once won't heal because it smiles at you again. The second thing that happens, you find yourself again. Not suddenly, but one fragment at a time. You rediscover tastes you'd forgotten, habits you'd abandoned, projects you'd put on hold. You discover yourself curious, calm, alive again. The mind that disconnects from manipulation regains its own independent thinking. It no longer seeks permission. It no longer seeks validation. It no longer measures its worth by who stays or who leaves. The Stoic would say that a free mind is one that is no longer a slave to its emotions, not because it doesn't feel them, but because it masters them, because it knows how to distinguish them. It knows that true love is stillness, not tension. That respect is constancy, not drama. That freedom is silence, not emptiness. Detachment is the return to clarity. It's not the rejection of feeling, but the purification of feeling. It's like cleaning glass after years of fog. You see things as they are, not as you wish. And at first, the truth will seem cold. It will seem cruel. But with time, you'll understand that it's simply clear. And clarity doesn't hurt. It cuts, but it heals. It's in this phase that you learn one of the hardest lessons. Not everyone who says, "I love you," means what's best for you. And not everyone who doesn't say it is incapable of loving you, because love isn't measured in words, but in freedom. You realize that respect is worth more than passion, that calm is worth more than desire, that consistency is worth more than promises, and that your serenity is priceless. When you reach this clarity, you no longer feel superior, you feel light. You no longer need to settle accounts because there are no more debts. You've understood that you don't owe her anything, and that what you lost wasn't love. It was the need to be loved. The free mind looks to the past as a teacher, not as an enemy. Thank the manipulation because it forced it to wake up. Thank the pain because it showed it where it slept. Thank the loss because it made it realize that it was never truly hers. This is the pinnacle of detachment, when you can look at history without anger, without desire, without nostalgia, only with gratitude and clarity. And once achieved, clarity is never lost. You may have moments of weakness, but you never return blind. Because those who have seen can no longer pretend not to know. The Stoics said that the mind trained to the truth no longer fears anything, because truth is the most stable ground on which you can walk. It doesn't tremble, it doesn't collapse, it doesn't lie. It's cold, yes, but it's real. And reality, when you learn to inhabit it, is the greatest freedom there is. When you get here, you no longer need to close doors, because everything that was meant to end is already sealed inside you. You no longer need to explain yourself, because you know that those who want to understand will see for themselves. You just need to walk, to breathe, to live in that peace you built while everyone tried to distract you. And you understand, finally, that the mind never returns to the same state after manipulation. It either remains a prisoner forever, or it becomes invincible. And yours, now, has chosen the second path. There is a moment after the pain when everything is silent. There is no anger, no regret, no euphoria, only silence. A silence that doesn't weigh, but purifies. It is the silence of the man who has been through hell and emerged whole. Not the same, but whole. Because suffering, when you accept it without running away, doesn't destroy you. It sculpts you. It shapes you like fire does iron. It hardens you in the right places and empties you in the useless ones. It strips away everything that was superfluous, until only the essential remains. Your strength. Not the one that shouts, but the one that no longer needs to prove anything. Not the one that strikes, but the one that resists. Not the one that conquers, but the one that understands. This is where the rebirth of the Stoic is born, at the exact point where others give up. When the mind, after being destroyed by control, rebuilds itself differently. Calmer, more lucid, more dangerous. Dangerous not because it wants to hurt, but because it can no longer be hurt with the same tools. It no longer reacts to emotional blackmail. It no longer falls into punitive silences. It no longer confuses guilt with responsibility. It no longer allows itself to be manipulated by promises or threats. It has learned to distinguish the sound of love from that of need. This rebirth is not a spectacle. Not everyone sees it. It is silent, like everything authentic. It happens at night while the world sleeps, while you think you won't make it. It happens when you stop waiting for someone to save you and start saving yourself. You get up slowly. You start speaking calmly again. You start walking slowly again. You start doing the things that remind you of who you were before being shaped by need. And one day, without realizing it, you look in the mirror and see a man you didn't know. He has the same face, but a different gaze. He no longer seeks validation. He no longer asks permission. He is no longer afraid of silence, because silence now belongs to him. This is the silent power of the Stoic, the serenity born of understood pain, the respect born of accepted solitude, the calm born of surrender to reality. There is no longer any need to react, because every emotion has been examined, understood, assimilated. There is no longer any need to win, because you have understood that there was nothing to conquer. There is no longer any need to love blindly, because now you love with discernment. Suffering has been your harshest teacher, but also the most sincere. It taught you to see where you were pretending. It showed you how much you were betraying yourself just to please. It forced you to look within and stop hiding behind the image of the good man. Because goodness without strength is a condemnation. It makes you vulnerable to control. It makes you believe that tolerating everything is virtue. But virtue is not tolerating evil. Virtue is recognizing it and not letting it in. Thus, your rebirth is not anger. It is clarity. It's saying no without explanation. It's choosing solitude over compromise. It's preferring your peace to their approval. This is the power no one can teach you. You learn it only by falling, breaking, hitting rock bottom. Because rock bottom isn't the end, it's the foundation. It's there that you build the version of yourself that no longer fears anything. The Stoics knew this. They said, "Fire tests gold, adversity tests man." And you were tested. You burned in doubt, guilt, silent humiliations. You resisted the chill of silence and the heat of illusion. And now that you've survived, you've discovered something that can't be taken away. The calm of the man who is no longer afraid of losing himself. Because he who isn't afraid of losing himself can no longer be controlled. He who has faced loneliness and accepted it becomes invulnerable. Addiction dies when solitude becomes home. And freedom begins when you stop running from yourself. Now you understand. There's no point in seeking revenge. There's no point in proving anything. There's no point in making her regret it. Because true revenge is your serenity. It's your calm. It's your silent rebirth. The world won't applaud. She may not understand. But those who observe you from afar will feel the difference. Because true strength isn't seen in extreme gestures, but in small, daily acts of consistency. In the way you don't respond to provocation. In the way you don't lower your voice out of fear. In the way you don't chase, you don't beg, you don't explain anymore. In the way you simply stay centered. This is the Stoic's victory. Not changing others, but changing himself to the point where others can no longer touch him. And from there, everything becomes clear. The pain wasn't a punishment. It was a passage, a rite of transformation. It tore off your old skin. It made you bleed. It forced you to face your weaknesses. But in the end, it gave you a new version of yourself. A man who no longer asks to be understood, but who understands. A man who no longer seeks love, but who exudes calm. A man who no longer wants to control anything, because he has learned that everything he needs to control is already within him. And when you get here, you understand that suffering has never been your enemy. It was your initiation, the price of your clarity. The path that led you to freedom. The freedom to no longer be afraid of losing. The freedom to no longer have to explain who you are. The freedom to no longer seek meaning in other people's reactions. The freedom to look at the world and say serenely, "Now I'm awake." And life, from that point on, is no longer a struggle to make yourself loved, but a practice of staying present. It's no longer an escape from pain, but a dance with reality. It's no longer a need for control, but an exercise in balance. You realize that even love now has a different sound. It's not urgency. It's not anxiety. It's not a chain. It's respect. It's mutual freedom. It's a space where you can be yourself without fear of losing yourself. And whoever loves you from now on will do so not because you need it, but because you are complete. Not because you bend, but because you stand tall. Not because you give it everything, but because you give it only what you can give without betraying yourself. This is the point where suffering becomes silent power. The point where you understand that there is nothing left to feel, only to live, only to be, only to remain in balance between the changing world and the calm that remains. When the storm finally subsides, you find yourself faced with something strange. Silence. Not the heavy one, heavy with expectation or guilt, but a clean, real silence, like the air after the rain. And in that silence, you realize that everything you've built up until now, relationships, habits, thoughts, no longer belongs entirely to you. It's like returning to a house after a fire. The walls are still standing, but the air is different. There's the smell of ash and truth. The return to reality is never a triumph. It's a slow journey, one step at a time, and every step weighs, because it's the first one without chains. At first you feel empty. You miss the voice that guided you, even though it was poison. You miss the tension, even though it wore you down. You even miss the confusion because it had become part of you. But that absence isn't a sign of weakness. It's proof that you're detoxing. The mind, after the checkup, needs time to remember how to live without fear. It no longer knows how to choose freely, how to laugh without wondering if it's appropriate, how to say no without feeling guilty. Every gesture is an experiment, every thought a new possibility. The Stoic knows this. He knows that freedom doesn't come with a clean break, but with slow construction. Every day, a brick. Every decision, a fragment of autonomy. Every little no said without trembling, a signal to the brain, I'm back. The first step in returning to reality is rebuilding your routine. Not a routine imposed by someone else, but your own. Rediscover the simple gestures that anchor you to the present, making your bed, walking, writing, breathing mindfully. You don't look like a hero while doing it, but you are. Because discipline, after chaos, is an act of rebellion. Routine isn't slavery. It's foundation. It's how you tell your brain, I'm in charge here. Every habit you build calmly becomes a pillar against manipulation, because those who have an internal rhythm can no longer be swept away by that of others. The second step is to reconnect with physical reality. After years of emotional control, the mind lives in abstraction. It analyzes, remembers, fears, anticipates, but the body lags behind, like a wounded animal. It's time to feel it again. Walk aimlessly, breathe slowly, play sports, work with your hands, touch the earth. Every concrete gesture brings the mind back to the present. Every real sensation saps strength from the ghosts of the past. The third step is to rebuild authentic bonds. Not those based on dependence or need, but those born of mutual respect. At first, it will be difficult to trust. It may seem to you that every kind gesture has a hidden agenda, but slowly you'll understand that not everyone wants to control you. That there are people who don't ask anything of you, who don't need to shut you down to feel strong. The Stoics taught that the wise man doesn't isolate himself from the world, but enters it with discernment. He doesn't flee, he chooses. And now you can choose who enters your mental space. You can build relationships that are no longer prisons, but alliances. You can be present without losing yourself. The fourth step is to reclaim your suspended dreams. During the control, you put your life on hold. You gave up on projects, passions, aspirations. You told yourself that it wasn't the time, that she wouldn't understand. Now is the time. Reclaim what you left unfinished, even if it's small, even if it's far away. Every time you pursue a dream of your own, you demolish a bit of the power it had over you, because control only survives as long as your purpose depends on someone else. The fifth step, the most important, is to accept change. You are no longer the person you were before. You can't go back to the way you were before, and that's okay. Because that man, even though he was pure, was vulnerable. Now you are different. More attentive, calmer, more selective. You have scars, yes, but they are signs of knowledge. Every wound is a lesson tattooed on your skin. Accepting change means stopping looking for the version of you before the pain. That version no longer exists, and it shouldn't exist. Because now you are a man who has seen the dark side of love and has chosen to remain whole. The return to reality is also a return to body, mind, and the present. No more endless analysis of the past. No more attempts to understand why. Only now, the here and now. The only place where you can truly breathe. Whenever your mind returns to ask for explanations, stop and remind it of one thing. The past is a place you've already visited enough. Now you must build your home in the present. And in the present, there is no control. There is only choice. The choice of how to react. The choice of what to think. The choice of where to put your energy. This is the secret of freedom. Not eliminating pain, but choosing what to do with it. You can let it make you bitter, or you can use it as fuel to build a life that no one can ever touch again. The Stoic doesn't seek perfection. He seeks consistency. He knows there will be relapses, that there will be moments of weakness, but he also knows that every time he gets up more aware. Freedom isn't a finish line. It's a daily practice. It's choosing every day not to fall back into old dynamics. It's choosing every day not to justify yourself, not to over-explain yourself, not to give in to guilt. It's saying no calmly. It's saying yes with presence. It's walking slowly, knowing that haste is the language of control. And when life presents you with new people, new challenges, new illusions, you'll remember one thing. You no longer have to prove that you deserve love. You just have to live in such a way that you deserve your peace. Those who truly love you won't need to train you. They won't make you feel small to feel great. They won't use your kindness to manipulate you. They'll just look at you. They'll talk to you and it'll be clear. They'll respect you and there will be peace. And you, finally, will no longer be afraid to be yourself. You'll no longer need to hide behind calm or irony. You'll be transparent, honest, lucid. Because the man who has been through control and emerged from it is no longer acting. The return to reality is this: living without pretense, walking without masks, looking without fear, speaking without filters. And the moment you do so, the world perceives you differently. Not because you seek attention, but because you exude solidity. Because freedom, when it's true, can be felt even from afar. The Stoic who has returned to reality doesn't speak of himself as a victim, but as a witness. A witness to the transformation that happens when you stop resisting the truth. A witness to how much can be rebuilt after losing everything. The truth is, you will never go back to being the way you were before, but you will become something rarer. A man no longer afraid of being free. And in that moment, looking back, you will understand that everything you went through wasn't a punishment, but a preparation. Control, loss, pain didn't destroy you. They forged you. They taught you the difference between living for someone and living with someone, between loving and submitting, between peace and dependence. And now that you've learned, the world can no longer shut you down. Because your freedom is no longer a hope, it's a discipline. There are two kinds of strength, that which makes noise and that which is silent. The first wants to be seen. The second simply is. And when you learn it, no one can touch you. Being calm doesn't mean being weak. Being calm means being dangerously lucid. Because those who don't react cannot be manipulated. Those who don't react cannot be led by chaos. Those who don't react are free. The world has taught you otherwise. He told you you have to answer for everything, that you have to defend yourself, explain yourself, justify yourself. He made you believe that remaining silent is giving up, but the Stoic's calm isn't surrender. It's strategy. It's awareness. It's self-control. When you stop reacting, you're not ignoring. You're choosing. Choosing where to put your energy, what to empower, what to give up. The manipulator thrives on reaction. He needs to stimulate you, to ignite your anger, to provoke your pain, because as long as you react, you're still in his game. But when you remain calm, the whole game falls apart. It's as if the music suddenly stopped and you were the only one left standing, motionless, while the others still try to find the rhythm. They look at you and don't understand. Because calm destabilizes. It's unpredictable. It's the language of those who are no longer afraid. Calm is the highest form of control, not over others, but over yourself. And those who control themselves have already won all the battles that matter. Being calm means not allowing emotions to rule you. Don't deny them. Master them. Feel the anger, but don't let it speak for you. Feel the disappointment, but don't give it your voice. Feel the pain, but don't build a prison over it. The Stoic isn't cold, he's centered. He doesn't repress, he channels. He transforms destructive energy into presence, the instinct to react into clarity, impulse into intention. When you learn this calm, you realize the world can no longer push you. Words don't hurt you. Silences don't shake you. Criticisms don't define you, because you've stopped measuring yourself against what you can't control. It's not what happens that disturbs men, wrote Epictetus, but the opinion they have of what happens. Calm is born here, in the distance between the event and the reaction, in that small pause where you choose clarity over instinct. Every time you choose calm, you are training freedom. Every time you remain silent when you could shout, you are strengthening your mind. Every time you smile in the face of provocation, you're declaring to the world that you're no longer afraid of losing. Calm is a weapon because chaos has no use for it. It's like trying to fight water. You hit it, but it slips through your fingers. And the more you hit it, the more it adapts, the more it returns to its natural balance. Being calm doesn't mean running away from conflict, but choosing when and if it's worth fighting. It means not wasting energy on wars that don't deserve your presence. It means knowing that time is your most powerful defense, because everything that isn't true, over time, reveals itself. When you remain calm, the people who wanted to control you become disoriented. They no longer know how to interpret you. They accuse you of being cold, of feeling nothing, but deep down, you know you feel everything. You just no longer hand it over to the wrong hands. Calm is the invisible shield of the mental warrior. It doesn't reflect light but absorbs the blow. And when negative energy arrives, you don't push it away. You let it dissolve against your presence. This is the greatest power of the man who no longer reacts. He no longer needs to change others to be at peace, because he has understood that peace is not out there, it is within. It is no longer an emotion. It is a condition, a stable foundation on which to build, a ground that does not tremble even when the world vibrates. Calm is the most masculine act there is. Not rigidity, not violence, but mastery. Because a man who remains calm when he would be justified in exploding is a man who has conquered himself. And he who conquers himself has nothing left to prove. He does not have to shout his strength is felt. He does not have to demand respect follows. He does not have to defend himself from accusations, because accusations slide onto those who live in truth. Thus, calm becomes your new identity, not an attitude, but a permanent condition. Every day you strengthen it with practice, breathing, reflection, discipline. Every day you learn to recognize when the ego wants to react, and you tell it, it's no use. This is how you win battles that no one sees. This is how you remain free even when the world provokes. This is how you disarm those who want to hurt you without ever raising a word. Because calm isn't imposed, it emanates. It's the vibration of someone who no longer fears judgment, loss, or loneliness. The Stoics called it ataraxia, imperturbable serenity, the stillness of the soul that can't be shaken by anything external. And you now are getting there. At first it will seem strange. Your brain will want to react, your body will want to defend itself, your voice will want to explain. But you remain, you breathe, you observe. And while the world rages, You become as still as a mountain, not because you are insensitive, but because you are whole. You have integrated everything: anger, pain, disappointment, love, compassion. And now you no longer have to choose between them. You carry them within as part of your balance. Calm is the ultimate evolution of understanding pain. It is the noblest form of masculine strength. It is the end of control and the beginning of mastery. From the outside, it may seem like you no longer care about anything, but the truth is, you only care about what truly matters. And when you understand what truly matters, life becomes simpler. The noise dies down. Chaos no longer finds you, and you, finally, can walk in peace. Not because the world has become less cruel, but because you have become inaccessible to its poison. It always comes back, maybe after weeks, maybe after months, sometimes after years, but it comes back. Not because it loves you, not because it has understood, not because it truly wants to start over. It comes back because it senses that you are no longer looking for it. It senses that your energy has changed, that you are no longer needed. And for those who live in control, there is no deeper wound than feeling forgotten. It writes you an innocent message. How are you? Maybe with a smile, a photo, a sentence that seems casual, but behind it is an experiment. It wants to see if you react. She wants to know if she's still in your nervous system. She wants to feel the power she once had over you again. And you look at her, you read her, and inside you, time stops for a moment. Not out of nostalgia, but out of awareness. Because you understand that the version of you that would have responded immediately no longer exists. Silence now is your most powerful response. Not out of pride, not out of revenge, but because there's nothing left to say. You've already said everything with your absence. When she returns, it's not a sign of destiny. It's a test of your new identity. It serves to verify whether your calm is real or only apparent, whether your freedom is stable or still fragile, whether you're truly done or whether you're still willing to start the same cycle again. The world will always test you at the exact point where you thought you were healed. And that message, that call, that sudden encounter are not coincidental. They are the final mirror of your evolution. You sit, breathe, and feel your mind rekindle. You remember everything. The sleepless nights, the silences, the manipulations, the guilt that wasn't yours. And you understand. You understand that you never want to go back there. Not out of pride, but out of dignity. Silence isn't empty. It's fullness. It's the voice of someone who no longer needs to explain. It's the tongue of a man who has learned to say everything without saying anything. When she returns, you'll notice one detail. You don't hate her. You don't despise her. You look at her tenderly, as if looking at a closed chapter, because now you've seen the entire script. You know how it begins, you know how it ends, and you no longer need to reread it. She'll try to reconnect with the old connection. She'll tell you she's been thinking of you, that she misses you, that she's understood her mistakes. And maybe she truly has, but it doesn't matter anymore, because you're not making excuses. You're seeking peace. And peace isn't built with the one who taught you fear. Your mind now is different. It doesn't react, it observes. It doesn't desire, it understands. She doesn't defend herself, she acknowledges. You've stopped letting your emotions carry you away. You've learned to look at everything as if you were seeing it from the outside. And this is true freedom. The distance between what happens and what you choose to feel. When she comes back, you don't have to prove anything. You don't have to show her how much you've changed. You don't have to act the strong man. Just be real. Just stay calm. Just don't fall into the need to be understood. Because those who want to control you can no longer do so if you don't react. And silence is the strongest wall against chaos. It's not disinterest. It's discipline. It's not closure. It's protection. It's not coldness. It's awareness. The Stoics said that the wise man doesn't respond to provocation, not because he lacks courage, but out of respect for his own energy. Silence is the language of the wise. It's the pause that contains 1,000 answers, and the certainty that none are necessary. When she comes back, you might feel a little pain, an echo of the past, a sweet, almost harmless nostalgia. Don't fight it. Let it flow. It's just the memory of the old you saying goodbye. It's not a sign that you need to go back. It's a sign that you've healed. Not all bonds need to be maintained. Some serve only to teach you where you end and the other begins. Some serve only to show you that your heart can heal. Some serve only to make you understand that freedom is worth more than love. When she returns, remember one thing. She no longer has to prove anything you do to yourself. That you've learned to remain whole. That you've learned to say no calmly. That you've learned not to give access to your peace to those who don't respect it. And if you choose not to respond, don't feel cruel. Silence is not punishment. It's a boundary. It's saying, I don't hate you, but I don't want to go back there. It's saying, I see you, but I choose me. It's saying, I don't need to close the circle because the circle closed itself. Calm is not armor. It's proof that the storm no longer rules you. And when she returns, it won't be your chance for revenge, but your test of maturity. Because true strength isn't not feeling. It's feeling everything and staying balanced. It's looking at what once destroyed you and no longer trembling. When the manipulator returns and finds the door closed, he doesn't immediately get angry. He gets scared. Because he understands he no longer has power. And the moment he understands this, he stops trying. Not because you rejected him, but because you're no longer offering him energy. Silence is a wordless sentence. It doesn't punish, but closes. It doesn't shout, but teaches. It doesn't explain, but shows. And those who have truly learned don't need to end with noise. They end with calm, with dignity, with the awareness that peace is non-negotiable. The Stoics would have said that the greatest sign of power is tranquility, because those who are tranquil are already in control. So, when she returns, don't try to prove anything to her. Don't look for words to say. Don't ask for excuses. Don't offer explanations. Look, smile, and let the silence do its work, because silence is more eloquent than 1,000 sentences. Silence is what remains when illusions are gone and the truth no longer needs to defend itself. And if one day she were to say to you, "You've changed," calmly reply, "No, I've just learned to be myself." Then turn your back, walk slowly, without anger, without victory, without explanations, because those who have rediscovered themselves no longer need to look back. And that silence, that step, that calm, they will be your greatest declaration of freedom. Most people fear solitude. They confuse it with abandonment, with rejection, with defeat. You grow up in a world that tells you that being alone is a sign of failure. That value is measured by those by your side. That happiness is found only in company, in love, in noise. But the Stoic knows the truth. Solitude is not a punishment. It's a sanctuary. When everything falls apart, when you lose love, trust, direction, solitude is the only place where you can truly rebuild yourself. Not because it protects you from the world, but because it gives you back to yourself. At first it's hard. Loneliness isn't as romantic as they tell you in books. It's not quiet. It's not gentle. It's pure silence. And in the silence, demons emerge. The voices you drowned out with the sound of love. The fears you'd numbed with the presence of another. The questions you'd never had the courage to ask yourself. Who am I without her? Who am I if no one looks at me? Who am I if no one desires me? These questions cut you like blades, but they're the same ones that free you, because behind every wound of loneliness hides a part of you you'd never heard. Loneliness strips you. It strips you of your role, your image, the need to be someone for someone. It forces you to be only you. And at first it's scary, because you no longer know who that you is. You've spent years shaping yourself in the eyes of others, changing your tone to be accepted, to become what was needed, not what you were. But solitude has no witnesses. It doesn't judge you. It doesn't applaud you. It doesn't correct you. It leaves you there, naked before yourself. And there, in the deepest silence, you begin to hear something you had forgotten, your inner voice. At first it's faint, almost imperceptible, but over time, it grows. It speaks to you calmly, without shouting, without pretensions. It reminds you of who you were before the wounds. It reminds you of what you truly loved. It reminds you that you don't need anyone to exist. The Stoic would say that solitude is a training ground for the mind. It's the gymnasium of the soul, because those who don't know how to be alone will never know who to be with, and those who fear solitude will accept any company just to avoid feeling it. Most people don't stay in toxic relationships because they love, but because they fear emptiness. Solitude is the great test of all freedom. It's the point where you stop running away and start building. And when you finally learn to be alone, you realize you're no longer alone, because your mind becomes your company. Your calm becomes your presence. Your silence becomes your strength. Solitude transforms you. It makes you understand that you don't need to be seen to exist, that your peace needs no witnesses, that a man's value is not measured by the attention he receives, but by the serenity he emanates. This is why manipulators fear your solitude, because they know that's where you become dangerous. Because a lonely man who has learned to be comfortable with himself no longer gives in. He no longer clings. He no longer asks. He chooses. In solitude, you learn the purest independence, emotional independence. It's not isolation, it's clarity. It's not coldness, it's mastery. It's not closure, it's selection. The difference between those who flee and those who stay alone is simple. Those who flee do so out of fear. Those who stay do so out of force. Solitude is a rite of passage. At first it seems like a cell, then you realize it's a temple. At first you feel only emptiness. Then you realize that emptiness is space. Space to breathe, to think, to rebuild. In that silence, you learn to distinguish the thoughts that belong to you from those that were imposed on you. You learn that you no longer have to fill every moment, that you can simply be, and that being is already power. Solitude teaches you the freedom that no relationship can ever give you, the freedom to be self-sufficient, not in an arrogant way, but consciously, not because you reject others, but because you no longer depend on them. When your mind finds peace in silence, everything changes. The outside world ceases to seem threatening. Others' opinions lose weight. The fear of judgment vanishes. And what once agitated you now leaves you indifferent. Those who look at you won't understand. They'll think you're detached, that you've closed yourself off. But you know the truth. You haven't closed yourself off. You've collected yourself. You've stopped wasting energy. You've stopped begging for attention. You've learned to tend your mind like a garden. And only those who protect themselves can truly share themselves with others without losing themselves. Solitude prepares you for true love, because only those who have found a home within themselves can open doors without fear of someone destroying it. Only those who no longer hunger for approval can love without chains. Only those who aren't afraid of being alone can choose who to have by their side. The Stoic lives in the crowd as if alone, and alone as if in the crowd. Because its calm doesn't depend on the place, but on the inner state. When you reach this point, solitude is no longer a burden. It becomes a privilege, a sacred place where you return whenever the world gets too loud, a refuge where your mind clears, a silence that no longer frightens, but nourishes. And when you emerge from that silence, you return to the world differently. You no longer seek company, you offer it. You no longer seek comfort, you embody it. You no longer seek validation, you inspire it. Because those who have learned to be alone no longer live on the defensive. They walk slowly, speak softly, look straight ahead. They have that calm presence that the world immediately recognizes. The strength of one who no longer needs saving. And that strength, silent and firm, becomes your ultimate protection. Because no one can manipulate a man who doesn't fear his own silence. There comes a moment, after the pain, when life comes knocking again. It makes no noise. It doesn't announce anything. It doesn't ask permission. It simply happens. A smile touches you. A face captures your attention. A voice awakens something you thought was dead. And that's where the subtlest doubt arises. Can I still love without losing myself? After the control, after the manipulation, after the illusion, love no longer seems the same. It's no longer innocent. It's no longer a game. It's a flame you observe with suspicion, like someone who's already smelled fire. You're afraid of getting burned again. You're afraid of believing, of opening up, of surrendering. But that fear, if you listen carefully, isn't an enemy. It's a guardian. It's the memory of your soul telling you, be careful, but don't close yourself off. The Stoic doesn't deny love. He purifies it. He doesn't transform it into weakness, but into awareness. Because love, by itself, isn't enough. It requires clarity. It requires moderation. It requires mutual freedom. Desire always returns. It's nature reminding you that you're alive. But now, after everything you've experienced, desire is no longer hunger. It's curiosity. It's no longer need. It's sharing. It doesn't arise from emptiness. It arises from fullness. Before, you loved to complete yourself. Now, you love to expand. Before, you looked for someone who made you feel enough. Now, you want someone with whom you can be yourself, completely. This is the difference between old love and new love. In the first, you sought salvation. In the second, you bring presence. In the first, there was dependence. In the second, balance. When your mind heals, it doesn't stop desiring. It simply desires consciously. It sees beauty, but doesn't allow itself to be enchanted. It feels attraction, but doesn't mistake it for destiny. It feels emotion, but doesn't call it eternity. And in this new space, desire becomes pure, because it no longer has ulterior motives. It doesn't seek validation. It doesn't seek control. It seeks connection. When you love as a healed man, you don't lose yourself in the other. You unite, but remain whole. You give, but don't empty yourself. You listen, but don't annihilate yourself. And when you sense something isn't healthy, you don't stay out of fear. You walk away out of respect. Mature desire isn't blind, it's disciplined. It's not an impulse that commands, it's an energy you choose. It doesn't push you to possess, it pushes you to understand. And in that understanding, you discover a form of love deeper than all others, one that doesn't need chains to feel secure. The man who has known manipulation no longer seeks drama, he seeks calm. He no longer seeks burning passion, but the kind that slowly warms. He no longer seeks someone to complete him, but someone to accompany him. When desire returns, you feel it in your body, but also in your mind. It's different. It's like music you already know, but played in a new key. Slower, clearer, fuller. And you know what? There's nothing more virile than the calm of loving. Because only a man who isn't afraid of losing can truly love. Only he who has learned to be alone can share without chains. Only he who no longer seeks refuge in another person can offer himself as a home. The world confuses passion with madness. It tells you that love must be overwhelming, that you must lose your mind, that you must feel the butterflies. But the truth is that true love doesn't make you lose yourself. It anchors you. It stabilizes you. It makes you breathe easier. It gives you peace, not anxiety. It makes you clearer, no longer blind. When you learn to love from this calm, every gesture changes meaning. A touch is no longer possession. A hug is no longer need. A conversation is no longer a test. It's simply presence. It's just two people meeting, without strategies, without roles, without games. And if one day someone wants to control you again, you won't have to defend yourself. Your balance will be enough. Because the man who loves calmly doesn't let himself be destabilized. He observes, recognizes, and chooses. He doesn't react, he doesn't beg, he doesn't justify. He simply knows. Desire is not the enemy of wisdom. It is its test. Because it shows you how capable you are of staying centered even when something shakes you. It teaches you that passion doesn't have to destroy you to be authentic, that you can feel intensely without losing your way, that you can want without depending. And when you love like this, the person in front of you feels it. They feel that you don't want to possess them, but to understand them. That you don't seek power, but reciprocity. That you don't want them to stay, but to choose to stay. This is the highest level of love. Not fusion, but harmony. Two complete beings who meet not to fill a void, but to celebrate fullness. And at that point, the fear of loss disappears, because you understand that love is not a contract, it is a momentary gift. It is not possession, it is connection. It is not security, it is presence. Loving like this requires courage, because it requires trust. Not blind, but conscious. Trust that even if everything ends, you will remain whole. Trust that you can give without exhausting yourself. Trust that you can open yourself without being destroyed. The Stoics would say that true love is living according to nature, letting things happen without resisting them, without clinging. Welcoming what comes, honoring what remains, letting go of what ends. So, when desire returns, you no longer fear it. You welcome it like an old friend. You know it's not the master, but the messenger. It reminds you that life goes on, that you can still feel, that you can still choose. And when you love again, you don't love like before. You love better, calmly, truthfully, freely. Because love, when it comes from a healed soul, is no longer a chain. It's a garden, and only those who have learned to be alone truly know how to cultivate it. Being imperturbable doesn't mean not feeling anything. It means not being dominated by what you feel. It's the difference between feeling and reacting, between living and being lived. The Stoic is not a man of stone. He is a man who has learned to contain the fire without letting himself be burned. His heart beats, but does not tremble. His mind feels, but does not give in. His strength is not cold, it is calm. Imperturbability is the summit of the mountain. You don't achieve it by running away from emotions, but by living through them all. It's the result of 1,000 sleepless nights, 100 disappointments, every time you chose to breathe instead of reacting. The modern world confuses sensitivity with weakness and detachment with coldness. But the Stoic doesn't let himself be defined. He knows that heart and clarity are not mutually exclusive. They can coexist, indeed they must. Because if you love without detachment, you lose yourself. If you live without heart, you empty yourself. True mastery is finding the point where you feel everything, but don't let anything drag you down. Being imperturbable means not allowing emotions to make decisions for you. It means knowing that anger can do you justice or destroy you. That passion can make you fly or make you fall. That fear can protect you or paralyze you. And choosing each time calmly. The imperturbable man is not cold. He is selective. He doesn't react to everything because not everything deserves his energy. He has learned that silence resolves more than 1,000 words, that time clarifies more than 1,000 explanations. That distance teaches more than 1,000 efforts. His heart is not closed. It is guarded. He doesn't build walls. He builds boundaries. He allows entry only to those who show respect, not to those who bring storms. And he does it not out of pride, but out of peace. His life is no longer a constant struggle against what happens. It is an orderly, disciplined, present flow. He doesn't let himself be moved by the winds of the world because his roots are within, not without. When people try to provoke him, he smiles, not out of superiority, but out of understanding, because he knows that those who try to make him react are still slaves to their own emotions. And he now is no longer a slave to anything. Imperturbability is not apathy, it is presence. It is the ability to remain centered in the midst of the storm, to observe the lightning and not let it burn to ashes. It is the peace of the man who has stopped fighting with reality. He doesn't demand that things be his way. He accepts them as they are, not because he gives up, but because he's understood that true strength lies in accepting without losing dignity. Being imperturbable is a form of freedom. You no longer react to every word, every rejection, every unexpected event. You move like a river. You adjust your direction, but you don't lose your flow. The living heart within the imperturbable person isn't weak. It's aware. It loves with moderation, desires with balance, speaks with intention. It doesn't need to be understood by everyone, as long as it's at peace with itself. Society doesn't understand those who live like this. It always tries to shake you, to label you, to interpret your silence as indifference. But you know it's not indifference. It's mastery. Because there is no greater strength than someone who can feel everything and remain calm. The imperturbable mind isn't empty. It's clear. It doesn't need obsessive control, because it trusts its own ability to adapt. It doesn't need to foresee everything, because it knows it can face anything. And when pain arrives, it welcomes it like an old friend. He observes it, understands it, lets it pass, because he knows that even pain has its place, and that fighting it only prolongs it. The Stoic looks at suffering differently. He doesn't call it injustice, he calls it a lesson. He doesn't call it punishment, he calls it training. And when the mind is trained, no wound scares it anymore. Being imperturbable doesn't mean never falling, but falling without despair. It means getting up with the same calm with which others fall. It means not letting yourself be defined by failure, nor exalted by success. It means staying centered, because imperturbability is also balance. Not too high, not too low, not too excited, not too discouraged. It's the middle ground that few manage to maintain. It's the calm in the heart of battle. The imperturbable man doesn't pursue perfection. He pursues mastery. And mastery comes from controlling your reactions, because everything in life depends on how you respond. You can choose anger or calm. You can choose fear or trust. You can choose escape or presence. And every choice shapes your destiny. Calm is not weakness, it is domination. And domination is not power over others, it is power over yourself. The kind of power no one can take away from you, that is not shown, but felt. Those who meet you feel it. Your voice is firm, your gaze is steady, your energy does not waver. Because you don't try to impress, you try to stay centered. And this, in the chaos of the world, is what makes a man rare. Emotional detachment is not coldness. It is proof that you have stopped living by reacting. It is the peace that comes when you understand that you cannot control everything, but you can control yourself. A living heart is what keeps you from becoming cynical. It is the part that still knows how to feel wonder, that still is moved by beauty, that still believes in the possibility of good. But now that part is protected, no longer exposed, no longer naive, but wise, calm, ready. Being unperturbed does not mean ceasing to live. It means living fully without being consumed. It means moving through life like the sea moves through a storm. It moves, but it doesn't break. And when you reach this state, something inside you changes forever. The world can still speak to you, but it can no longer rule you. People can still touch you, but they can no longer hurt you. Life can still challenge you, but it can no longer break you. You have achieved true freedom, not being a slave to any emotion, but an ally to all of them. And in that silent freedom, you understand that your strength doesn't depend on who you are when everything is fine, but on who you remain when everything falls apart. And you, now, remain unperturbed, with a living heart, with a still mind, with a peaceful soul. Freedom, true freedom, has no witnesses. You don't show it, you don't explain it, you don't declare it. You live it, silently every day. It's invisible, but it feels. It's in the calm with which you respond, in the way you no longer react, in the peace that follows you wherever you go. The world is not made for free men. It is built for those who obey, for those who conform, for those who let themselves be driven by the emotions of others. We live in a time where those who don't react are judged as weak. Those who don't speak up are labeled cold. Those who remain alone are labeled as lost. But you know, true victory isn't visible to the eyes of the beholder. It's invisible because it happens within. A free man isn't someone who has everything under control. He's someone who no longer needs to control anything. He no longer depends on approval, no longer seeks validation, no longer clings to what's outside himself. He's understood that freedom isn't about doing what you want, but about not being forced to do what you don't want. Every time you choose calm over anger, you've won. Every time you choose silence over pointless explanations, you've won. Every time you choose solitude over compromise, you've won. Every time you choose to remain dignified while others lose their temper, you've won. But this victory has no applause, no medals, no audience. It's a conquest that happens in silence, where no one sees you, where only you know how much you had to fight to get there. The world wants to control you because it can't tolerate the unpredictability of those who are free. It wants you predictable, manipulable, legible. It wants you to react like everyone else, to give in to guilt, to respond to every stimulus. But you are different now. You've learned to recognize emotional traps, social illusions, promises disguised as truth. You no longer react to dramas. You no longer engage in conflicts. You no longer taint yourself with the energy of others. You've built a sacred boundary between yourself and the world. Not a wall, but a threshold. An invisible line that says, you can approach, but you cannot enter without respect. The free man is not one who flees the world, but one who walks within it without being contaminated. He speaks calmly, listens attentively, decides slowly. Every gesture is intention, every word is measure, every silence is conscious. His life isn't a show, it's an act of discipline. Every day he exercises self-control. Every morning he chooses tranquility over anxiety. Every evening he lets go of what he can't change. And in this daily cycle of calm and control, he finds his invincibility. The freedom of the Stoic isn't solitude, it's mastery. It's the ability to remain true to oneself in every circumstance. It's telling the truth even when it costs. It's choosing dignity even when it hurts. It's staying centered even when everything around you collapses. Being free in a world that wants to control you means not falling into the game of noise, not reacting to provocation, not responding to injustice with anger, not seeking revenge, not chasing justifications, because control doesn't work on those who no longer need to win. The free man doesn't play to win, he plays to remain whole. He doesn't seek to convince, he seeks to understand. He doesn't want to possess, he wants to walk lightly. Every time you choose clarity, you disarm those who wanted to confuse you. Every time you choose calm, you break their power mechanisms. Every time you choose the truth, you break the invisible chain the world tries to put on you. Freedom is a practice, not a condition. Every day you must defend it from judgment, need, regret, fear. Every day you must remember who you are, even when no one reminds you. And the truth is this: no one can control a man who isn't afraid of being alone. No one can manipulate a man who no longer needs to be understood. No one can bend a man who has learned not to react. Because his strength isn't outside, it's inside. The world can take everything from you: money, status, love, recognition. But it can't take away your calm. And if you can remain calm while everything burns, you've already won. Not a battle, but a war. The invisible victory is this: not dominating others, but dominating yourself to the point that no one can drag you into chaos. It's watching the world scream and remaining silent. It's watching the lie and remaining true. It's watching the storm and remaining still. It's not a noisy victory. It is slow, profound, eternal. It is not measured by applause. It is measured by the peace you feel inside when you close your eyes. It is knowing that you no longer have to chase anything, because everything that matters is already with you. Your calm, your clarity, your presence. And this is what the world will never understand. You cannot control someone who is at peace. You cannot frighten someone who is not afraid of loss. You cannot buy someone who needs nothing. The free man is not the man who has everything. He is the man who no longer fears anything. He walks slowly. He observes a lot. He speaks little. He listens more than he explains. He lives as if time were an ally, not an enemy. He loves calmly. He works with discipline. He rests serenely. He must not be noticed, because his presence is enough. He must not raise his voice, because his silence carries more weight. He must not defend his reputation, because his conduct speaks for him. The invisible victory is that which needs no spectators. It's the one you celebrate inside, every time you resist the temptation to turn back, every time you choose peace over noise, every time you look at your reflection and recognize a man who hasn't betrayed himself. And when the end of another day comes, when you turn off the light and are left alone, you won't feel the need for anyone. Only gratitude. Gratitude for everything you've learned, for every pain that has awakened you, for every loss that has freed you, for every silence that has taught you. Because freedom isn't achieved once and for all. It's renewed every day. And every day you choose calm. You choose dignity. You choose not to react to the poison. You are winning again. This is the true greatness of the Stoic. Not changing the world, but living free within a changing world. Being solid while everything vibrates. Being whole while everything lies. Being calm while everything screams. And maybe one day, someone will look at you and not understand. They will say you're distant, that you're different, that you're too calm to be human. It doesn't matter, because you will know the truth. Your calm is not distance. It is mastery. Your silence is not coldness. It is freedom. Your imperturbability is not indifference. It is victory, an invisible victory, the greatest of all, the one no one can take from you because it cannot be seen. It is.